My name is Emily Carter, and I used to think I had it all. Successful career, dream home, devoted husband. People used to say we were the kind of couple you see in magazines. Elegant, accomplished, perfectly put together. But behind every perfectly staged photo, there's a story no one wants to tell. Mine starts with a house and ends with a secret so disturbing, it still makes my skin crawl. I was 42, a proud interior designer based in Asheville, North Carolina. I'd built my business from the ground up, client by client, room by room. My husband, Brian, 45, was a real estate developer. We were the power couple in town. We didn't just sell dreams, we lived one. Or so I thought. Together, we had just finished building what was supposed to be our forever home. A 4,000-square-foot custom-designed estate, nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I had poured my soul into every inch, the reclaimed wood floors, the quartz countertops, the wraparound porch that caught the golden hour light just right. It was more than a house. It was proof that we had made it. I should have seen the cracks sooner. Brian started spending more nights in Charlotte, claiming meetings ran late or he was networking with investors. He used to FaceTime me from hotel rooms. Then he switched to text messages. Eventually, those stopped too. Our intimacy had cooled, but I chalked it up to stress, deadlines, the usual. He said I was married to my projects. I laughed it off. After all, couples go through phases, right? What really started eating at me wasn't just his distance, it was my friend's silence. One by one, they pulled away, canceled plans, avoided eye contact. I once ran into my best friend Marlene at the grocery store, and she practically sprinted to the next aisle. I asked Brian if he'd said anything to offend her. He just shrugged and said, "Maybe she's jealous. You know how women get." It felt like something was rotting underneath the surface, like a sour smell in a spotless room. But every time I tried to lift the rug, Brian would distract me. With flowers, a fancy dinner, a sudden trip. To Charleston. I wanted to believe he still cared. Then, one rainy Tuesday, while organizing our new guest bedroom closet, I reached behind a stack of old blueprints and binders Brian had shoved in there. I was looking for a throw blanket. What I found was a box. It wasn't labeled. It wasn't locked. Just a plain black shoebox covered in dust. Inside were receipts, hotel bookings, jewelry I'd never seen. A burner phone still charged. I remember sitting on the hardwood floor for what felt like hours, scrolling through message after message, each one more damning than the last. "Miss you already. Last night was incredible. She suspects nothing. Contact name? T. My stomach turned, my chest tightened. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw the phone across the room. But I didn't. Because something about the way he wrote wasn't just casual. It wasn't just lust. It was something else, something deeper. And then I saw a photo. Her face. Young. Gorgeous. Athletic, maybe late 20s, blonde curls and dimples. She looked like someone I would have hired as a model for one of my showroom shoots. And suddenly, the entire house, the one I had spent months designing, dreaming about, obsessing over, felt like a trap, a stage, a facade built to distract me from the truth. But nothing, absolutely nothing could have prepared me for what came next. Because that girl, the one Brian was sleeping with, she wasn't just another fling. And this story, it wasn't just about infidelity. It was about a man who thought he could lie his way through life. And a woman who finally learned how to burn it all down, one secret at a time. They say if you dig deep enough, you'll find dirt. I wasn't ready for a landslide. That night, after finding the burner phone and receipts, I waited for Brian to come home. I sat in the dark, the house glowing softly around me. The house I built with so much love, now mocking me with every marble countertop and carefully selected light fixture. When he walked in, soaking wet from the rain, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply asked, "Who's tea?" He froze, just for a second, but I saw it, that flicker in his eyes, like a guilty child caught red-handed. "You've been going through my things?" he asked, suddenly on the offensive. "That's a violation of trust, Emily. A violation of trust." My jaw clenched. He didn't even deny it. "What's her name?" I asked again, my voice calm, almost too calm. "Look, it's not what you think," he said, slipping off his coat, trying to act casual. "She's just someone I met at the gym in Charlotte. It's not serious." I could have laughed. "So serious you booked her plane tickets, Brian?" He didn't answer. He just looked away. And that's when something inside me, some ancient, exhausted part of my soul, went completely silent. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood up, walked past him, and said one thing: "You're going to regret underestimating me." Before we dive deeper into this story, I want to connect with you, my incredible viewers. Where are you watching from? Drop your country's flag in the comments below. I know some of you might be watching this alone right now, maybe with a cup of coffee or late at night in bed. So let me remind you, no matter where you are, you're not alone. Because right now, I'm here, with you, telling this story together. Now, back to what happened next. In the days that followed, Brian acted like nothing happened. He made coffee, cracked jokes, even complimented my outfit one morning. Maybe he thought I would forget. Maybe he thought I would forgive. But what he didn't know was that I had already hired a lawyer, and I had a plan. First, I had the guest bedroom bugged, audio only. I needed evidence, more than just texts. Brian had been using that room to take late-night calls when he thought I was asleep. The first few nights, I got nothing. But then, one Thursday at 1:17 a.m., I heard it. His voice. Her voice. Laughter. He wasn't even trying to be careful. "I told you she's clueless," he said. "She's too busy picking out throw pillows to notice I'm living a double life." And then, her voice. "Tessa. I just want you to myself, Bree. You said you'd make it official soon." "I will," he said. "She's sentimental about the house. Once it's signed over, I'll cut ties." Signed over? My heart stopped. I replayed the audio. Then I pulled out the deed to our property. That's when I saw it. A recent amendment, notarized 3 weeks ago. A partial transfer of ownership to someone listed as Tessa Monroe. I had designed this house. Paid for half of it. Sacrificed 2 years of my life to build it brick by brick. And now he was slowly giving it away. To her, he didn't just betray me, he was trying to erase me. But here's the thing Brian forgot. I'm not just a wife. I'm a builder, a planner, a creator. I don't destroy, I redesign. And so I began crafting a different kind of blueprint. I played along, I smiled, I kissed him goodnight. I even suggested throwing a little anniversary gathering at the house, just close friends and family, to celebrate the dream we built together. He loved the idea. Of course he did, because Brian thought he was in control. He didn't know I had already restructured our joint accounts, or that I'd started working with a forensic accountant, or that my tech-savvy cousin Tyler had cracked into his second phone and uncovered messages that would make even a divorce judge choke on his coffee. But most of all, he didn't know that Tessa had messaged me. One line. "You deserve to know everything." I think I made a huge mistake. I stared at that message for hours before replying. And when I did, it changed everything I thought I knew. Because what Tessa told me, it wasn't just scandalous. It was monstrous. And I realized the affair was just the tip of the iceberg. The real betrayal, it ran much, much deeper. The moment I met Tessa in person, everything I thought I knew shattered. She wasn't the seductive homewrecker I had imagined. She was nervous, shaking, barely able to hold eye contact. We met at a quiet cafe just outside Asheville. I watched her stir her coffee over and over, as if delaying the moment she'd have to speak. "I didn't know who you were at first," she said. "He told me you were just his business partner. Said your marriage was over years ago, that you were obsessed with control." I let her talk. I wanted to see if she'd flinch, lie, shift blame. But instead, her eyes welled with tears. "I found an old document in his desk," she whispered. "A birth certificate. Mine." I blinked. "What are you talking about?" "My mom. She passed away last year. She told me she had an affair with a married man when she was young, but she never said who. I was cleaning out her things when I found his name. Brian Carter. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, but it wasn't." "He knew," she said, voice cracking. "He knew I was his daughter, and still—" She didn't have to finish the sentence. I could barely breathe. All the nights, the texts, the hotel stays. He wasn't just cheating. He was manipulating, destroying, desecrating the very idea of love, family, decency. And he thought he could get away with it. I stared at her, unsure if I felt more disgust, pity, or fury. Maybe all three. But then she looked up at me. This broken, confused young woman who had been used just as much as I had, and said the one thing that changed everything. "I want to help you take him down." So we did. In the weeks leading up to our anniversary, I put on the performance of a lifetime. I laughed at his jokes. I snuggled close at dinner. I even pretended to be excited when he handed me an early anniversary gift. A necklace, I'm sure. He bought on the same trip he spent with her. But behind the scenes, I was orchestrating a takedown that would make Shakespeare proud. I met with my lawyer every other day, building a case with the precision of an architect. I had the house wired, carefully, discreetly. Every call, every whisper, every shady conversation between Brian and his real estate partners. Recorded. Tessa sent me screen recordings of their texts. She forwarded every email. She gave me access to a private Dropbox folder where Brian had been stashing forged documents, plans to sell off parts of my business, siphon funds from our accounts, and shift liabilities under my name. He wasn't just planning to leave me. He was planning to destroy me first. But here's the thing about building something beautiful. You learn how to dismantle it without leaving a trace. I began redesigning parts of the house. Nothing big, just details. Subtle changes he wouldn't notice. Moving security cameras, changing access codes, shifting his office desk an inch to the left so the audio recorder picked up better. Every piece was falling into place. And then I sent the invitations. A dinner, party, our 15-year wedding anniversary, a celebration of unshakable love in the house we built together. I made sure everyone was invited, our closest friends, his colleagues, even his parents. Tessa would be there too, playing her part. Brian was thrilled. He thought he had me fooled. On the morning of the party, I walked into our bedroom wearing a crimson dress he'd once said made me look like a threat and a gift all in one. He smirked. "You look amazing, Em." I smiled back. "It's going to be a night to remember." And it was. Because as guests began to arrive, and the wine flowed, and laughter filled the air, I felt no nerves. Only calm. Because everything was ready. The house, the lights, the hidden projector in the living room, the slideshow, the footage, the truth. Brian had no idea the walls were about to close in on him. He was too busy telling our guests how much he loved this woman, how lucky he was, how building a life with Emily was the greatest decision he ever made. I stood beside him, hand resting gently on his arm, smiling, and I counted down the minutes. Because in exactly 1 hour, his empire would begin to crumble, and I would finally take back everything he tried to steal. My home, my name, my dignity. But even then, I wasn't prepared for what came next. Because the moment the screen lit up and the first recording played, he didn't just panic. He confessed, out loud, in front of everyone. And what he said, what spilled out of his mouth in a desperate attempt to save himself, made half the room gasp. And the other half recoil in horror. It was in that moment I realized Brian wasn't just a cheater. He wasn't just a liar. He was something much, much worse. And this wasn't just the fall of a man. It was the collapse of everything he thought he could hide forever. The lights dimmed. The room fell silent, and the projector flickered on. At first, it looked like a sweet anniversary montage. Smiling photos of Brian and me, our first apartment, vacations, the day we broke ground on the house. Sentimental music played softly in the background. Guests smiled politely. Brian grinned, his arm around my waist. He leaned down and whispered, "Didn't know you had this in you." I smiled back. "You're about to find out." And then, the music stopped. The slideshow faded into a black screen. A click. Then, audio. Brian's voice, unmistakable, played loud and clear. "She's clueless. She thinks this house is forever, but once I get it under Tessa's name, she's out. I'll leave her with her fancy furniture and maxed-out credit cards." Gasps. Murmurs. She was never more than a tool. Talented, sure. But too emotional. I need someone who knows how to shut up and look pretty. I felt his arm slip from around me. He stepped back. "What is this?" He hissed, but it was far from over, because the screen shifted to a video, a screen recording of his texts, his voice on the phone. Then a paused frame. Brian kissing Tessa in a hotel room. Dated, time-stamped, undeniable. And then came the final slide. A scanned birth certificate. Name of father, Brian Michael Carter. Name of child, Tessa Monroe. Dead silence. Someone dropped a wine glass. Brian's face went ghost white. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. That's when I turned. To him, steady as stone. "You knew she was your daughter," I said loud enough for everyone to hear. "And you still slept with her." He stammered. "She didn't tell me at first. I didn't know, Emily, I swear." "No," I cut in, voice cold. "She found out months ago. And so did you. But you didn't stop. You kept going. You bought her a share of our house. You planned to leave me with nothing while you played house with your own flesh and blood." I saw his mother sobbing into her hands, his father shaking his head, horrified. Our friends looking at him like he was a monster. And he was. And then, Tessa stood up. Everyone turned. Tears streamed down her face, mascara running. She looked at Brian, eyes red, voice trembling. "I told you it was wrong," she said. "I told you we had to stop. You said it didn't matter, that no one would ever find out." He lunged forward. "Tessa, stop. No," she cried. "I'm done lying for you." She pulled out her phone and played a final audio recording. His voice again, low and manipulative. "It's just biology. You didn't grow up with me. We're adults. We can make our own rules." And just like that, every last drop of oxygen was sucked from the room. Brian tried to walk out, but two of his business partners blocked the door. I handed a folder to my lawyer, who had been quietly sitting in the corner all evening. Inside were copies of everything, recordings, texts, deeds, the birth certificate, Tessa's statement. It, was already submitted to the police. And to the press. He was done. He turned to me, rage twisting his face. "You ruined me." I tilted my head, calm and poised. "No, Brian. You did that all by yourself." I just turned the lights on. 3 weeks later, the house was mine, entirely. The deed was transferred back. all fraudulent activity traced to him, his accounts frozen, his reputation demolished. Tessa moved out of state quietly, under a different name. I haven't heard from her since, but me, I stayed. I stayed in my house, repainted the walls, tore down his office and turned it into a yoga studio, burned the red dress, bought a new one. White, strong, unbothered. People in town whispered. Then they applauded. And eventually, they asked me to tell my story. So I did. I wrote. I spoke. I created. And in the quiet of my Mountain View deck, with a glass of wine in hand, I finally understood what I had built. Not just a house, but a home, a life, a truth that no one could ever take from me again. Because in the end, he thought he could bury me under the foundation of his lies. But I was the foundation, and the house always wins. This story is about strength, truth, and taking back your power. Emily didn't just survive, she rose. If you liked the story, comment 2 below. If you didn't, go ahead and comment 7. I welcome all thoughts, and if you want more stories like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for being here. You're never alone while we share these moments together.